Hi everyone, this is Nagaram Ramesh, working as an assistant professor, Department of Information Technology, BVRIT, Narsapur. Today topic is Introduction to Servlets. So before the introduction of servlet, we have to know what is web. Now, introduction to web. So web consists of billions of clients and servers connected through wires or wireless networks. So web client may always make requests to web server. The web server receive the request and find the resources and return the response to the client. So always the client sends request to the server. This is a client and server. This is client, and this one is a server. So the client send request to the server and the server process the request and returns response to the client. So the client uses web browsers to send the request to the server, and server often send response to the browser with a set of instruction written in hypertext markup language. Now the web applications. The web applications are two types, static and dynamic. Now in static, the website is a collection of static files such as HTML pages, images or graphics. The web application is a website with a dynamic functionality on the server like Google, Facebook, Twitter are the example of web applications. Now introduction to servlet. A servlet is a technology is used to create web applications. The servlet technology uses Java language to create web applications. Web applications are helper functions that reside at the web server and build dynamic web pages. A dynamic page could be anything like page that randomly chosen pictures to display or even a page that display current time. So the web browser send request to the web server and web server communicate with the servlet, and that servlet finds the resources and process the request, and then it create a web application that is dynamic content, and that dynamic content to be sent to the server, and same thing that information sent to the client. Now introduction to CGI. CGI is Common Gateway Interface. Before the servlet, the CGI is a program was used to create a web applications. The CGI is a olden here. Now CGI program works. First thing, the user click a link that has a URL to dynamic page instead of static page. The URL decides which CGI program to execute. The web server run CGI program in separate OS shell. The shell includes OS environment and process to execute a code of a CGI program. The CGI response is sent back to the web server, which wraps the response in HTTP response and HTTP response and send back it to the web browser. So the client sends request to the CGI, and CGI creates separate CGI file each request, and that is called a CGI program to execute, and the response to send its client. Okay, this is the process of executing in CGI. Drawback of CGI: high response time because CGI program execute in their own shell, and CGI not a scalable. We cannot scalable of CGI programming. CGI programs are not always secure or object oriented. It is platform dependent. These drawbacks we can overcome with servlets. So servlet is developed Sun Microsystems. Okay, is a solution over traditional CGI technology. Advantages of servlet. Servlet takes less response time because each request run in separate thread. Servlets are scalable. Servlets are robust and object oriented. Servlets are platform independent. So here the client send request to the servlet. First the web server receive the request, and in the web server we have a web container. The request is converted into threads, and that thread to be handled the servlet, and the servlet generate a web application and send back to the client. So here the thread is a lightweight. Some resources are shareable, but in CGI there is no shareable memory or shareable resources. So the CGI is a heavyweight, but servlet is a lightweight. Types of servlets. We have two types of servlets: generic servlets and HTTP servlets. Generic servlets have some functionality, limited functionality that supports some type of protocols like HTTP, FTP and SMPT. So that servlet implements servlet interface. Generic servlet implements servlet interface, but HTTP servlets extends generic servlet. And these are protocol dependent servlets that provides support of HTTP request and response. Generally, it is used to create a web application. Generally, it is used to create a web applications. Generally, it is used to create a web apps. So there are three potential ways in which we can employ to create a servlet. So first we have to implement servlet interface, and this interface is implemented in generic servlets, and HTTP servlets extending generic servlets. So here the servlet is the interface. So we are implementing in generic servlets and extending in HTTP servlets. If you want to create your own servlet, we have to extend HTTP servlet or generic servlets. If you create a generic servlet have only one method, that is service method. Okay, service method to handle the HTTP requests and responses. Here the HTTP have two methods, do get and do post. Do get and do post are handling requests and responses. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.